you get on it?
It's right on our website, but ourvalleyvoice.com. It's right on the big box. It will say watch live. You can go right on there and watch it on YouTube. Maybe a little spotty, but we're hoping for some good quality. If not, we'll have it recorded after the fact also. Thank you very much.
We were just talking about it. I got that news. I got some flyers from the state. Business cards. And the guy that kind of goes, "What? How much do you have?" I said, "I don't have it all." And he goes, "Oh, well, then that's what I'll charge you." So it's not a lot, but it's more than I would have.
Can we have our candidates for 26th Assembly please come to the stage? Candidates for 26th Assembly, please come to the stage.
I'm not heckling, I'm correcting.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Patrick Ishward, and I will be your moderator this evening, and welcome to the 2016 Tulare Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum. We are very excited to have you here and very excited to have our candidates here as well. To start off, I would like to thank some of our sponsors and our volunteers. Would of course like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the Governmental Affairs Committee. We'd like to thank the Seroptimist International and the Tulare S Club of our 3 high schools here in town. We also want to give a thank you to K-Tip Radio, the Valley Voice for their coverage of this event, as well as the Visalia Times Delta, the volunteers of our question review panel, and thank you to Billy Fry and Rachel Souza for their help in getting this together this evening. Tonight's function is put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and I do have a quick message from the Chamber of Commerce. The Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. For more than 130 years, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce and its predecessor, the Tulare Board of Trade, have played a vital role in the community's ability to survive adversity and develop into the dynamic city that we know today. The Chamber of Commerce is comprised of a board of directors. This year's chairman of the board is Carissa Chapman with International AgriCenter. The board of directors is excited to have on board Donette Silva Cotter as our newly appointed CEO. So thank you to all those involved with the chamber. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to review our evening format and rules. To our audience, your questions are welcome. You can submit questions through writing. Around the room are various runners who are volunteers who will collect your questions and bring them up to the screening table. To our candidates, each candidate will be asked to provide a 1-minute opening statement. Each candidate will be asked the same questions and can provide a 1-minute response. After questions, the candidates will be asked to give a 1-minute closing statement. No questions will be directed to just only one candidate. Please be mindful to the lights down in front, candidates, because once the red light is on, you can finish your sentence and the moderator will stop you. Time schedule will allow how many questions we field to the candidates. Tonight's format is not a debate, therefore you will not have rebuttal time frame to questions of your other candidate. And with that, as we start, we have up here up front is our candidates for the 26th Assembly District. We have Mr. Ruben Macareno and Mr. Devin Mathis. Good evening, gentlemen. All right. As previously noted for our agenda, if you would, we're going to allow 1-minute time for you to give an opening statement. And Mr. Mathis, we will start with you.
Well, good evening. All right, can y'all hear me? Good. So I'm Assemblyman Devin Mathis. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a Valley boy. I grew up here. And, you know, for me, I felt the calling to serve early on. I was a Boy Scout. I remember taking my first oath then that on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. I went on to high school and joined the Army National Guard, where I took another oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I took that same oath when I swore in as your Assembly member 2 years ago, and I plan on keeping my oaths, and I've done so. And with your help and support, we'll continue to do that and continue to protect you. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. And the same, Mr. Macareno.
Hello, my name. Okay. Hello, my name is Ruben Macareno, and I'm running for the state assembly, of course. I am from, actually, at one time lived in Tulare. In fact, I just parked my car across the street in the house that I grew up as a young boy. So I have really beautiful memories of Tulare. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have a lifelong career in public service that started in 3rd grade. In the 3rd grade, I was honorary secretary of the Honor Guard, and I went on to do that in junior high school, college, etc. Today, I'm endorsed by the Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, the Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rondon, and also by California Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones, as well as some local officials. I run because I think that I feel I know the community, I feel good about the community, I feel the pulse of the community, and I feel that I can represent all segments of the community, not just one specific segment, but everyone, because everyone deserves a voice, and especially in Sacramento, with all that's here, with all that's out there today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Macareno. Appreciate it. So for this evening, as we are collecting questions, we have a set first question that will be asked to both of you. The Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business opportunity. How do you see your roles as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And we'll start with you, Mr. Macareno.
Well, I think one of the things that we need to do as far as from the state level is that we need to bring back RDA monies that were taken away. I know the cities that are unable to meet some of the demands that are out there, and we are kind of falling short. Our cities are having a hard time. And so I think that's one of the first things as a legislator I like to do, and begin that discussion of bringing back those RDA monies, redevelopment agency monies. It's so important so that we can foster new business in our communities, bring in new jobs in our communities. I think that's very important, and we need to bring in that extra money back into the area.
All right, thank you. And with that, I'm looking for some questions from our screening table. Yes, thank you, Renee. Good evening, Mr. Mathis. How are you? Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I apologize. Mr. Mathis, the same question. Would you like me to repeat the question?
If you want to talk about economical growth and
Yes.
what I'm doing. Well, first off, I'm very proud to be endorsed by the California Chamber of Commerce, the NFIB, and also the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And over the last 2 years, we've been doing a lot of work. The governor has a group called GoBiz, which is set up to help small businesses, large businesses. I'm getting the I can't hear me in the back of the room. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hold it.
All right, I gotta eat the mic. All right. And now I've got 30 seconds. Mark said go. Look, we've done a lot with the governor's office, with GoBiz. There's a lot of things with PAGA lawsuits that are out there that we're working on. I've set up a small business council to specifically look at how we can also help businesses. You know, there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of restrictions, there's a lot that hurts our business environment. And over the last 2 years, I've been working really hard to better protect our small businesses and to help lighten up regulations, and I will continue to do so over the next 2 years with your support. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, for those in the back, we've adjusted the volume as best as possible. I do want to remind both of you, please keep the mic close. I know if we turn up the volume too high, we'll sound like we're at Dodger Stadium. It'll start echoing really bad. I think with that, moving to our next question is, where do you see really the role that you could help with small businesses as regulation and other issues that come out of Sacramento? A lot of times I'm trying to get the question right here. It's really, what role do you feel that you could be of help of regulation with Sacramento in helping to promote small business growth? And Devin, we'll start with you.
That gets back to what I was just talking about with building these partnerships with the Hispanic Chamber, with Cal Chamber, with your chambers. In the 26th District Assembly, there are 11 chambers of commerce. And in Sacramento, it's all about building relationships and networking, a lot like you do in business. And when you build these relationships, you also reach across the aisle and build them there. And it's about setting up that business climate. It's about helping to reduce some of the regulations, to put in protections for our businesses, and also to help educate our business owners on what's actually out there and what's available to you to better help you with your business, to help your businesses grow, which we've been doing so with the partnership with GoBiz, like I said. And if you want more information, do please call my office and we'll get you set up. I can get you guys plugged in with the governor's GoBiz office as well, to really let you know what's out there for you. And moving forward, it's just really being an advocate and protecting and being that watchdog that goes, hey, what are you doing? We got to protect our little guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mathis. And Mr. Macareno, same question. If you'd like me to repeat it, I will.
Sure, no, that's fine. Well, there is a lot of incentives out there for businesses for growth and recruitment, that sort of thing. So I think that the Office of Assemblyman is also one to provide that information to the businesses, especially small business. Small business is such a major fabric of our community, because the small business is what are actually the businesses that go out and they support the community when there's raffles or the high schools or whatnot. That's the first community that comes out before anybody else. And sometimes you don't even have to ask that community. But we need to have that, build that relationship to introduce what we already have, and what we don't have, we need to communicate with the chambers and the small business, see what more we can do. Because I know it's tough for small business in this particular area, and we need to be aware of all those situations. So building that relationship and having those doors open for small business, I think is very important that we do that.
Thank you. Next item, which is a hot topic that we all know, and we know it's gonna come up tonight, so we'll just put this out here, is actually water. There's some other hot topics. We hear water, we hear about water storage, we hear about water regulation, the federal government involvement, all the different dynamics with it. So what do you see key in your position as being an assembly member that you can do about helping with water resources, waters to farmers, and the drought? And Ruben, go ahead.
Yes, I think obviously water is a major topic and will be a major topic for perhaps even generations. So, you know, this is one of the topics that should not be partisan in any which way, bipartisan. I know that building those relationships so people could understand the needs of our farmers, because we are an ag economy, that we need to be able to communicate that to our other legislators in Southern and Northern California so that they can support the needs that we have to deliver for our farmers. You know, we need to make them understand that not only does our economy suffer or our farmers suffer, but the state and the nation suffers, as we are the providers of fruits and vegetables throughout the world. And not only that, but also workers suffer too, and small business suffers. So we need to be able to articulate that to our colleagues in Sacramento so that they are more in coalition with us to make sure that that water gets to where it needs to get to.
Okay. Mr. Mathis.
Water, water, water. So over the last 2 years, we've worked on short-term, intermediate, and long-term solutions. And that started with working with the International Water Society to get over 100,000 bottles of water delivered that are to those people that don't have running water. That was part of the first step that we took. And then you get into, we've all seen the big containers, the water tanks out there, and getting that program going, and making sure we have that intermediate solution. So I think we all know with that also comes the long term. I worked with the governor to $15 million in the budget to drill new wells and tie people in. We've recently done 500 homes and more are coming on every day. But I think we all know that it's, besides the storage and all the big talk we hear all the time, a lot of it, especially on the farmer side, gets to groundwater recharge and it gets to flows and making sure that water's coming down here. Because if we don't start doing groundwater recharge, and as all you know, coming up with Sigma regulations, that's the key piece, is to make sure we're putting water back in the ground, and that helps everybody.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mathis. I think one of the things you kind of touched on here, which is another topic that we have, is solutions in partisan politics, being that if you're in Sacramento as a Republican or a Democrat, we've seen Governor Jerry Brown veto legislation on both sides. That really the dynamics is, and the question here is, with Governor Jerry Brown being unpredictable in his support or veto of bills, how do you feel that your role can be productive in getting legislation passed? And I'll start off with you, Mr.
So what I've done over the last 2 years is I've actually built a very good relationship with the governor's office. As I just mentioned, we were able to get $15 million into the budget. Because sometimes going through the legislative process, you run into people from different regions that have different agendas, and so they won't put money in, but you can go through the governor's office and work with them. I've been able to do that. I have a proven track record of doing that. And it's really important to have that relationship. And I mean, you don't go into the governor's office and go, hey, Jerry, we got to talk about this. You do some ways, but we've been able to do that. We've also been able to work with him with AB 856 for the Friant Cross Conveyance Canal to move water from the west side back over to the east side. That wasn't a piece of legislation that I did. That was a bill that Assemblyman Ruby Salas, the Democrat, did. But I was a co-author on that bill, and we helped push and make sure that it got signed. So building those relationships and working together for Valley values and Valley water is something that I've been doing since day one, and I will continue to do for you.
Thank you. And Mr. Macareno?
Yes. Well, I think one thing that's most important is understanding the political process. I think, you know, it's a numbers game, is building coalitions in terms of what your issue is, what your bill is, that sort of thing. it's important to be able to have that communication. As a Democrat, I'm obviously at an advantage, but as you say, the governor goes either way. And I think that that's a good thing in the sense that it challenges all of us to meet those expectations of throwing away the partisan badge of being for the constituents and for the people. My role in that would be to continue to build those relationships that I already do have in Sacramento, and to have that communication not only with my colleagues or not only with the state-wide officers, but also with the governor, and building and having them understand. The role of being a legislator is having them understand the needs of a constituency. That's really important. Communication is real important. Knowing the numbers game is real important. Knowing the political process is real important in all of it. And also, I think that having a solid foundation of what your issue is also very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Margarano. Appreciate it. I think I have a couple of different questions on some local issues. And one of them is, as we touched on water and school districts and education, what do you see as your role that can help funding for education? As we've had to raise, I kind of touched on this, it's not in the question, but I know we've had the proposition with extending the school tax and with funding. What's your role and what you think you can do to help fund, continue funding for education at the legislature? And Devin, we'll start with you.
With education in the state of California, a lot of this gets worked into funding formulas, and the unfortunate part is, as my opponent said, it's a numbers game. The fact that the Assembly is 80 members, there are currently 28 Republicans and 52 Democrats, and there are 22 Democrat legislatures out of LA. That's a pretty big block, especially when the majority is 41, which determines a lot where this funding goes. So you see a lot of the money go to LA and to San Francisco, into the bigger areas. We've been working as the Central Valley Caucus, which is a group of Valley legislatures, not just on rural education, but also on other rural issues, but we always talk about how do we work on a better rural education formula? How do we get the money to our students locally? How do we improve things on the education side? How do we help our charter schools out? How do we continue to do these things and get the money not just to the schools, but down to our students? And, you know, with part of that, I'm out of time, but it's continuing to build that relationship and focus on the funding formula to ensure that the money actually comes here to us and to our kids. And it's going to be a continued, drawn-out process until those majorities change. It's an uphill battle.
Thank you. Mr. Macareno?
Thank you. Well, in terms of getting monies here, I think you have to have a pretty good, well laid out plan so that people understand what the needs are. I mean, for instance, I would like to see class reduction where it's needed, K through 12. You know, we have challenges in terms of getting students that information, and sometimes that requires money. And that requires a plan to be introduced to the legislature. So how are we going to be able to help this particular area where we do have our challenges. I think one of the good examples, of what a legislator can do is exactly what our legislator to the north did, Joaquin Arambula, when he brought in public safety dollars to Selma and Lemoore, in an area that they needed, you know, for public safety dollars. And I think if we could introduce that sort of thing in the district for this region, for this district, then we can also help out our educational system, particularly here in the area. It's true, it's a tough challenge when you do have a large number of Sacramento, LA, and San Francisco legislators, and we only have, what 4 or 5 here. So it is a true challenge. And sometimes it's not partisan, sometimes it is regional. So it's a tough job, but it can be done.
Thank you, Mr. Macareno. I think with that, in watching the time, with that, I do have a few more questions, but to the scope of our agenda for the evening, we're going to go to our closing statements. As we go to the closing statement, I'm getting notes as well about the volume, so if you can, please keep the mic close. I hope it's improving in the back. Nope, I'm told to speak up. So with that, in closing statements, Macareno, how about you go first on this one?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sherwood. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me here tonight. I think it's a great opportunity to meet all of you and also for you to meet who we are. I think it's important when you put out a vote, you're actually voting for someone that has the experience, that can actually truly be the pulse of a community and could be also inclusive of all communities. I think that's very important. There's communities in our district that feel like they have been left behind, and we can't have that. We need to have that type of dialogue where we're all in this together. Farmers, workers, teachers, everybody. It's so important to understand this. My background comes from serving a variety of individuals in the corporate area, in the local area, in the nonprofit area. So I truly understand all segments of a community and what makes a community. I'm willing to work for you very hard. I'm willing to be your voice for it. No matter what you stand on, I have my ears open to you. I can do the job. I'm qualified, I'm ready to go on day one. I'd appreciate your vote on November 8th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Appreciate it. And Mr. Mathis, your closing statement.
Folks, in closing, I think you all know I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I've authored or co-authored nearly 200 bills in my first term. I have one of the best freshman Republican records of years. And that's something you do by working in a bipartisanship fashion, something you do by building those bridges and building those networks with the governor's office. And I'm going to continue to represent you with your votes and your support. And I plan on continuing to work hard. We've done so. We have a proven track record of that and getting things done, putting your voice first, going past the partisan lines, and getting it done for you. I think you all know I've taken quite a bit of heat for that. But I'm going to continue to do that because that's my job. That's the right thing to do. And I hope with your votes and your prayers, I'll be able to do that for the next 2 years. Thank you all for being here tonight. Everybody that helped put this together, thank you guys.
Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, if we could have the candidates for Tulare City Council District 5, please come up front. And for candidates in District 5, we will have a different moderator. The Chamber of Commerce will have Brian Thoburn come up, and Brian will be the moderator for the Tulare City Council District 5.
Yes, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brian Thoburn, longtime participant with the Chamber Government Affairs Committee. Happy to stand in for this segment of tonight's program. For Tulare City Council, District 5, the community has a selection of 4 candidates. The candidates with us this evening are Susanna Aguilera Marrero, known as Sam, the incumbent, Craig Vavida, and Greg Nunley. Candidate Margie Fowler is unable to attend tonight because of a family commitment out of town. Candidates, we will start with your opening statement. You will each have 1 minute, so keep in mind the timers. I would also ask, was asked by our question screeners, for folks in the audience that have questions of our city council candidates, since we have 3 districts involved in the election, if you can identify which council district that you're directing your question to, that would be very helpful to our screeners. We will start with opening statements, and Sam, please open us up.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming out this evening for the forum. My name is Susanna Aguilera Marrero. I was born and raised in Porterville. I'm a retired correctional captain, privileged to have worked at all 33 state facilities for the Office of the Federal Receiver. From the border of Mexico to the border of Oregon, always maintaining a residence here in Tulare. I am currently the president and chairwoman for the Tulare Kings Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the president-elect for the Tulare County Latino Rotary, member for Measure R Bond Oversight Committee, executive board of director for Crime Victims United of California, founding member for the National Latino Peace Officers Association Central Valley chapter, and was the former state president for the Chicano Correctional Workers Association, former state president for the Women's Peace Officers Association of California, retired member of the California Correctional Peace Officers Association, and past Tulare County Grand Jury member. Member of the Tulare County for Families Immigration Reform, member of the Porterville Comisión Unificada Mexicana Americana, coach for Pop Warner Cheerleading, board member for Pop Warner Football, and various other committees. I will celebrate my 35 years of marriage to, yes, one person, one man, this November. I have a son and 4 gorgeous grandchildren, Chaz, Cha-Cha, Lala, and Lola, not their real names.
Okay, Craig?
Well, I had some prepared remarks for my opening statement, but in light of the tragedy that happened in Tulare, I think I'll do something a little bit different with my time and just give a great big thank you to all our public safety personnel and how they responded. And if you will, maybe just indulge me in, if you're so inclined to pray, if not, just a moment of silence for those victims and their families, that God's hand will give them comfort and peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Greg?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Nunley. I'm a real estate developer and a contractor. I'm born and raised here in Tulare. My wife, Michelle Nunley, is the principal at Tulare Union High School, and we have 6 children that we're raising here in Tulare. I want to start off by thanking the Police Officers Association and the Firefighters Association for endorsing me. The first time ever that the Police Officers Association has endorsed any candidate in the history of Tulare. And I'm very humbled by that, and I want to thank them again. I want to share my vision tonight. What I have with Tulare is I want to see Tulare grow like the other cities around us. We are in the heart of the Tulare County with the 99. It was one of the most heavily traveled highways maybe in the nation, and we don't take advantage of that. Our economic development has failed us, and ask yourselves as you sit here tonight, how many new businesses, how many new buildings have come to Tulare in the last 4 years to 5 years? And how many buildings have left Tulare, or businesses, that they can't survive here, or they choose to go somewhere else?
Thank you, Greg. And as I mentioned earlier, Margie Fowler was unable to attend tonight, but she did submit a statement to the chamber, and I'll read that now. My apologies to everyone attending the forum that I'm not in attendance tonight. My son is a senior in high school, and we are attending the preview day of his #1 pick for college. I want to tell all of you in attendance that I am very active, involved community member, and want to see good things happen in our community. After careful consideration for my time commitment to my family, my new business venture, and committees that I currently serve on, I feel that now is not the right time for me to become a council member. And in her announcing her decision, Mrs. Fowler has also made an endorsement. The chamber believes that in the context of this forum, that it would be appropriate that you contact her for that information. With that, we'll start with the first question, which will go to Craig. As noted earlier, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place?
Well, contrary to popular belief, Tulare has been growing economically. According to the EDD, those are the folks that collect our payroll taxes, total employment from 2011 to 2016 has grown by 2,200 jobs. That's a 9% increase. The city of Visalia during that same time period grew 8%. So I think we've been doing a good job with economic development in the city of Tulare. Also, if we look at our building permit activity in the city of Tulare, in 2013, we issued a total of $49 million of permits. 2014, $55 million. 2015, last year, over $80 million, and we're on pace this year to exceed that. So obviously, we're doing a lot of things right in the city of Tulare. But I think we need to continue improving. We need to continue to get better. We need to continue investing in our people. And I am pleased that we have on our agenda next Tuesday an item that we would hire 3 additional people in our planning and engineering department and quit outsourcing some of those duties to other places. I'm out of time.
Greg?
If I'm fortunate enough to become a city council person for the city of Tulare, the first thing I want to do is hire our own city planner back. I don't know how many people in this room are aware that the city of Tulare 5 years ago had 3 planners. The city of Tulare today has 0 planners. We contract out to a firm in the city of Visalia, meaning very directly that the city of Visalia, a firm in the city of Visalia, now listen to this, a city in the firm of Visalia is planning Tulare's future. I'm born and raised here, and I don't like the sound of that. I want that to change immediately, and I don't know why this has been the case for the last 3 to 4 years. It doesn't make any sense to me. Another thing for economic development is we need to have staff call people back. Under the current leadership, for whatever reason, and I'm in the development world, and I know all the other developers and builders and business owners, they can't get calls back. And I don't think it's staff's fault. I think it's a leadership direction. Another thing I want to talk about with economic development is when you go into the city as a developer, builder, business coming to town,
Greg?
you're told that you can't have water. And I would like to know why that is the case. And if we really have a water issue, why is it taking 4 years when this water issue popped up to fix, and why are we waiting another year or 2 to fix it?
Thank you. Sam?
Thank you. To me, it always boils down to planning, funding, organizing, doing, evaluating, correcting, and doing again. I think that you're going to have a planning division, department from this area to see what's going on in this area with short-term plans, long-term plans, things that are realistic. Having input from the community, prioritizing it, and again, planning, funding, organizing, doing, evaluating, correcting, and doing again. There's no reason why there shouldn't be a plan in place for housing development, for business development, for making our communities better so that business want to be a part of our community. Improving our safety. Nobody wants to go to a state-of-the-art library if you don't feel safe. Everybody wants a community where their families can thrive. Again, planning, funding, organizing, doing, evaluating, correcting, doing again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Our second question will go to Greg, and it's, what are the top 3 items you feel are the most important for the City Council to be working on?
I want to say the top 3 priorities for me will be, for one, I want to see a global budget all at one time. I want to see a 5-year window showing a growth budget that keeps up with infrastructure so that we can have growth to create economic opportunities for businesses here and new businesses to come. My second thing would be public safety. I don't know if everyone in this room is aware, but the city of Tulare, from what I hear, and I hear from very credible people, we have 6 officers on patrol, and that's it citywide at one time. And I don't like that. For a city the size of 60,000 people, we have 6 officers patrolling our city, and they're backed up. As soon as they show up for a shift, they have 6 or 7 calls that they have to do paperwork for, meaning they got to go sit in their car, they got to go back to the station, do paperwork. So how many officers are really patrolling our areas? And I want to change that. And the next issue is water. I want to see if we really have a water problem, and if we do, we need to fix it.
Thank you. Sam?
I think when you have a good education system, you're going to have quality employees that you can promote. I think that businesses are going to be interested in you and hiring you and coming to a community if they see a potential for growth. If they know that I'm going to start my business there and somebody is coming in at the entry level, I know I'm going to be able to develop them to be the president or the CEO of my company. I'd like to see a university, if not here in Tulare, definitely in Visalia. And I think Marymount University is currently working on that. We need to attract other businesses so that our communities are thriving, so that people are shopping in both small businesses and that we're following the trends. So definitely education, economic growth, and safety and security. Again, I don't care if you have a state-of-the-art library. If I don't feel safe, I am not going to go out of my house. So those would be my 3.
Great.
I guess, Brian, before I start, I'd like to know if I got a minute or I'd get 3.5.
Well, again, to keep in mind, candidates, when you see the red light, wherever you're at, you need to finish your sentence and move on, because we've got a crowded program tonight, so.
Okay. All right, so my 3 priorities really haven't changed. They're the same 4 years ago, and I got my campaign material from 4 years ago. Similar statement that I made in the candidate statement that's going to appear in the ballot. And those 3 priorities are public safety, economic development, and financial stewardship. And I think we've done a great job with public safety. I was on part of the council that passed the first Measure I, and we passed it overwhelmingly, and I helped on that effort. And through that Measure I, we have generated over the years, $48 million that we have poured back into public safety. And we have 24 additional personnel in our police department because of that. Think of where we would be without them. Think about that response today if we didn't have all those bodies. We're just so thankful that we did that. And so as a council, we need to pay a competitive wage to attract quality people. We need to give them the tools, the training, so they can do their job. I'm going to move on to economic development. I think that report card's there. You look at the job growth, we're knocking it out of the park. And maybe later on I'll talk about financial stewardship, which is another good success story in the city of Tulare.
Okay. This question comes, and it'll first go to Sam in our rotation. This being the third question. Who are your largest donors, and what is your relationship with them?
I am my largest donor, and I have a great relationship with myself. You'll see any of my signs that are out there, anything that I do. I am a grassroots campaigner. I want to get to know you. I want to build a relationship with you. I plan on being here. I am retired captain, and my retirement, my sister says, you are not retired, you're unemployed. I am on more committees and do more in my community than you can shake a stick at, and I love it. That's what I do in my retirement. I want to get to know what you want, and I want to work with you to build tomorrow, today, starting today. We got to groom our youth. We got to build them, and we got to prepare them so that they can be up here to be the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Right.
Well, so far to date, I am also my biggest donor. Paid the candidate statement for $880 in 2000 alone in my campaign. But my otherwise the biggest donor is a $500 contribution from the Tulare County Association of Realtors. They support me because they know I'm pro-growth. They like my track record. I do have a track record. You know, the hardest thing to do when you run for office is to ask, for me, is to ask my friends for money. And it just overwhelms me how they open their hearts and their checkbooks and contribute to my campaigns. And a lot of them are here. And I just want to say thank you very much. It's because of you that I go out and I walk precincts, and it's because of you that I work hard for the city of Tulare. And so again, just thank you all, and we're going to work as hard as we can and get our message out and stay positive, because we have a great message. The city of Tulare is on solid ground, and taking Tulare forward, we do have a very bright future. So we'll just keep working at it, and we'll let the voters decide whether or not you want me back for 4 years.
Greg?
I also am my own largest donor and my only donor. I'm with Sam and Craig on that. I have also been offered money, which I declined. One being the Tulare Board of Realtors offered me, also the same as Craig, $500. I declined that. I have a really hard time asking people for money. It's just in my nature, and I'm self-funding my campaign.
Thank you. Question here. We'll start with Craig on this one. Can you talk about your priorities or vision for reliable water delivery in the city?
Boy, do we have a great story about water. When I first came on the Tulare City Council in 2004, one of the first things they did was work with another fellow city council member to partner up with Tulare Irrigation District. And after a series of meetings, we came back to the council and said, here's what we want to do. We want to put an ordinance on the books to charge a fee so we can partner with Tulare Irrigation District for purposes of groundwater recharge. And we were doing recharge before other cities, I think, could even spell the word recharge. We were way ahead of the curve on that issue. Today, we added another fee to our water rates so that when we got projects lined up to fix our arterial streets, and when we're fixing them, we're going to repair some old water lines and sewer lines that are underneath there so we can fix them before they fail. Also with that fee, we're going to be installing 2 new wells and, more importantly, storage tanks so that we can equalize our pressures and not have to get you to where you send notices that you got to boil water. And that's going to help us accommodate growth in the future. So we got a really good story about water.
Great.
Over 3 years ago, the city of Tulare, I went with a project to the city, and they made me do the first water model in the history of the city of Tulare, saying that we can't provide water pressure to any more projects. So I paid the fee and we did a water model. That is now a hindrance on the city of Tulare. City council has known for at least 3 years that we've had a water problem, because that's when I first paid the first water model fee to do a water model. And now we sit here today talking about water, and we're going to drill wells, but those wells aren't going to be drilled for 12 to 18 more months. If I'm going to be on city council and we have water issues, if we indeed have a water issue, I'm not gonna wait 3.5 years or 3 years to talk about it, and then another 1.5 years to do something about it. This should have happened 3 years ago.
Sam?
To fully answer that question, you're going to have to give me a little more than a minute. Water is actually the most complex issue on anyone's agenda. Understanding the watershed alone is not going to be addressed in 1 minute. It's going to take breaking the barriers of thinking that if you have a D behind your name, if you have an R behind your name, we're not going to be able to work together. There are lots of things that a community has in common. You have your family in common, you have religion in common, you have education in common. There's a lot of things that there's common ground on. That's what we have to come to the table with and negotiate. We have to understand the water issue, the watershed, and how it is that we can work together. That's the only way that the water issue is going to be addressed. It's too big of an issue to discuss in 1 minute. And anyone who really knows the water issue understands that it's going to take time, but I have time.
Okay, it's time for closing statements, and Greg will lead us off.
I'm fortunate to become city councilman for the city of Tulare. I'm going to be the most pro-growth person you've ever seen. I want smart growth, concentric growth, meaning growing from the inner outside. I'd like to see infill projects, but we also need bigger projects on the outside for the growth of housing. And the number one source to create more commercial growth, more restaurants, more shopping, so people will stop off the 99 of our major artery going through the heart of Tulare. This housing, is rooftops. Unless you have population, you do not get commercial growth. That's a fact. And I will argue with anyone in this room or in the city that says otherwise. It is proven. So we need growth, housing growth, commercial growth. But to do that, we need to open up communications with the city staff, city council, the planning department, so that developers will come back to Tulare like they used to.
Okay, Sam?
Thank you. Please vote for me if you want change. LA, San Francisco, 4 hours away. Interstate 5 to Oregon and Washington, we have the corridor. We can attract the businesses working together. Ports of Stockton, Sacramento, LA, San Francisco are all within 200 miles. There's no reason why we can't work together to entice and make our community attractive. The main line of the Union Pacific Railroad runs through Tulare, offering railroad access to major cities. Why are we not growing? 21.6% are below poverty level. We need to change that. There needs to be jobs. $46,000 average income. We need to grow that together as a community. I want to represent you. I want to know what you want done, and I want to prioritize that, and I want to advocate on your behalf. I want to work toward that end for our children, for our grandchildren, for ourselves, for our family and our community. Red light, I end.
Greg?
Okay, so having served on the Tulare City Council the last 12 years, I do elections as a report card on performance, and that's a good thing. I said my priorities were public safety, economic development, and financial stewardship. Well, we checked off public safety. Our folks are doing a great job. Economic development, all the statistics say we're doing a great job. Financial stewardship. So 5 years ago, we were at the bottom of a recession, the worst that most of us have seen in our lifetimes. Today, we sit on the largest reserve that the city has ever seen. Our reserve is almost $9 million, which is roughly almost 25% of our general fund. And that is a good place to be. Our target used to be 15% of our general fund, but having gone through that recession, we have to be ready for the next one. So I would hope that my service, things that I've done, has earned your vote to continue being a steward of your hard-earned tax-paying dollars, and I thank you for your kind attention this evening.
Thank you, candidates. Your leadership and community.
Everybody wants some water, it's right back here.
If we can have the candidates for District 3, please come up front. All right, thank you, Brian, for helping out. And with that, we move on to District 3 and our two candidates, Philip Smith and incumbent Carlton Jones. Being in the back, I will try to speak up a little bit louder with that. All right. Well, gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Thank you for your service to our community and running for office. And we will start with our opening statements. And Philip Smith, how about if you lead us off?
Thank you, Patrick. Just raise a hand and back if you can't hear me. I know there were some problems earlier. My family and I moved to Tulare in 1992. The job brought me here, and my wife told me, well, the girls are going to grow up here. You can just commute anywhere else. So I did. I commuted all over the South Valley and was able to return to Tulare in 2010, and I've been working here ever since. My work's been primarily in finance, and I've been working in commercial finance for the most part for the last 20 years. I've also had the opportunity to teach on the adjunct faculty of both COS and Fresno Pacific University in business at that time. I've served as the Tulare Rotary President. I've served as board chair for the Tulare Chamber of Commerce, and my most direct service was as a CASA advocate for 5 years, in which I worked with 3 young men as they worked through the foster care system and the juvenile detention system. Thank you. Please consider voting Philip Smith.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you. My name is Carlton Jones. I am born and raised here in Tulare, so I've been here since 1973. I grew up about 4 blocks west of where we're sitting. I started my working career here as a firefighter in 1994. I worked here until 2002 before taking a job with the city of Fresno. And in those 2 years that I was working in Fresno, I kind of missed the public service that I was a part of here in Tulare. And that missing that service encouraged me to get back involved. And one of the ways that I sought after was running for election in 2002. I learned a lot. I got to serve with a lot of different people that think different than me, and that conflict caused me to grow through conflict resolution. I appreciate that. I don't want anyone to think that me and Phil are running against each other. I believe that our backs are facing the same way. We're looking the same way. Both of us are here because we want to make Tulare better, and we just have different ways of doing it.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, as we've seen in the other races, we have our first question. And our first question is, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And Mr. Jones, we'll start with you.
As far as economic development goes, I see my role as a representative of our community and a partner with the private sector. We represent the public sector. The private sector, those two have to work together if they're going to be successful. Now, as a city, we can't tell businesses to come here. We can encourage them to come here. As a city, we can't tell businesses what to build, but we can control the quality of what they build and where they put it. One of the issues that I've seen is that there's a higher quality of businesses that are being built on one side of town. As an elected official, we have to require that every building that someone puts in the city of Tulare, whether it's east side, west side, north or south, that it lives up to that same level of quality and that everyone is here to over-deliver.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Smith, would you like me to repeat the question? The Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place?
I think the city council has to provide leadership in developing business and encouraging business. There's so many different components when you're trying to attract business to our community. And the council has to be part of that. The chamber can be part of that too. In many communities I've worked in, the Chamber of Commerce takes the lead role in economic development. And it used to be that way here. But over time, that was changed. I'd like to see the chamber be more involved in that economic development sector. I'd like to see the city take a more active role in encouraging business to come here, encouraging people to invest here. I think we've heard that message repeatedly this evening. And what it comes down to is working with city staff, with city council, with the business community to find ways to work together and bring people here. There's a problem, you identify the problem, you focus on it, you fix it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you're both familiar with our city very well, and we have our downtown area, and this question says, do you have a vision for downtown? And if so, are there any tools that have not been used that you would implement? And Mr. Smith, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Patrick. One of the main issues we face downtown is that we have property owners who are either out-of-town property owners or they are simply local owners that are not in a position or choose not to invest in the downtown area. Without addressing those local property owners, we're not going to be able to make a change down there. The city owns a lot of property downtown as well, and the city maintains its property downtown. That's not the case throughout the downtown. What I'd like to see is the city and the property owners work more closely together to ensure that we're getting consistent investment, to ensure that any people that are opening businesses there, our tenants there are taken care of, and try to encourage professional services and other businesses downtown. I think that's the only way it's going to work. The retail is moving out, but we can still try to attract professional services downtown.
Thank you. And Mr. Jones, would you like to repeat the question? Sure. Do you have a vision for downtown? And if so, are there any tools that have not been used that you would implement?
Yeah, well, my vision for downtown is just like my vision for the rest of the city. We have to communicate with the shareholders and those that are down there. We saw the decline in business downtown, but what I saw is a lot of families that stayed down there, a lot of businesses that continue to stay down there. California Liquidators, a lot of the hair salons, Mike V's, they decided to stay in our downtown. So if we don't bring them to the table, communicate with them, find out what works for them, and build off of that, then we're failing ourselves. The city itself is one of the largest owners downtown. I don't feel that we've done a good job leading by example. We have to find ways to pull money from other areas, invest it in our buildings, and find clients that want to come in and work there and be there. We haven't done that. It may look good, but I think we can look great. I also believe that we can have a healthy downtown that's not affected by a healthy outlet mall.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. The next question that we've heard in every race is about water. Water is an important issue. And I think with this question, which is directed to both of you, is Mr. Smith, you sit on the Public Board of Utilities, and Mr. Jones, you sit on the City Council, that where do you see our water system in 10 years? And what upgrades do you see will be needed to get us there?
Well, it's hard to say where I see our water system in 10 years because a lot of that is affected on where do we see our rainfall. And if we want, that's out of our control. But what we have to do is be ready to capture that water when it comes. A lot of those issues are a little bigger than us. But what I do see in the city is we do these studies that show that we have a water issue. And then we do another study, it's called the ISO study, that shows that our water system is fine. I compare those and I ask myself, why does one study show that we have poor water pressure at peak hours and the same study that was done in the same at the same time show that we have good water pressure in peak hours? To me, that's an issue. And we can't continue to answer the problem by raising the bills on people. We tell people that if you use more water, we're going to charge you. And when they are successful in using less water, we can't keep saying we're going to charge you more. That's a problem. So our water issue has to be truly identified and then dealt with.
And Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Patrick. Our water infrastructure and delivery system has been decaying for many years. One of the things that I learned after many years of service in the Board of Public Utilities was that at certain points in time, our board was very pleased to be able to keep our water rates low. Well, we're paying for that now. You can't go decade after decade without improvements and then not expect things to fail. We just went in on an H Street project and found out that the water lines are actually running under the residences. Well, we got to pull them back and put them in the street where they belong. As far as the water situation in 10 years, a lot of that is going to be determined by the Sustainable Groundwater Act. We formed our Sustainable Groundwater Agency here in town. My opponent serves on that board and I serve as an alternate, so we're both keeping an eye on that. The rules that are handed down from Sustainable Groundwater Agencies throughout the state will determine how we're using water in 10 years.
Thank you, gentlemen. This question that I have comes back to the city as a whole, but with issues of vagrancy and homelessness. How do you plan to address the issue of homelessness in Tulare? And perhaps we'll start with you, Mr. Smith.
Homelessness, especially in the downtown area, but throughout the city, is a difficult question. We can never forget that these people are human beings, and we all realize that. I've seen our police officers go out of their way to make sure they're treating everyone with consideration and compassion. But at the same time, you can't continue to allow businesses to get impacted by vandalism, to have clients and employees accosted in the midst of their workday and have to call a squad car in to deal with it. We need resources from the state and federal agencies to work on mental health. We need private-public partnerships to deal with the immediate physical needs, the food, the shelter, things of that nature. And we've got that. We've got that lighthouse, and we've got numerous people working on those type of things. We need to help these people move through this if possible and work out their issues for the long term.
Mr. Jones?
Well, I think to deal with the situation, we can't limit ourselves on the different ways that we approach it. You know, there's a substance abuse issue, there's a mental health issue, and then there's just a financial, you're in trouble issue. And so we have to have ways to deal with that. Humanly, we have to address the mental health issue. You know, it's one of the problems that just by going out and giving donations and creating shelters that you really don't address. So that we'll have to work with a county agency, a mental health agency, to work with. The other substance abuse issue, my favorite is a city that partners with its churches, its faith-based organizations, and any organization willing to help, like our Lighthouse Rescue Mission, and provide them with the tools and resources that they need to help these people. And the other one is we have to work with the families. I'm born and raised here, so when someone tells me this person is homeless, and I go and I see them, and I know where their entire family is, you know, we have to bring them back together and fix that.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you addressing the questions and in time. Been able to go through 4. I do have a couple more. I appreciate that from the audience. But with that, I think we're going to move to our closing statement. And with our closing statement, Mr. Jones, how about you lead us off with the closing statement?
All right, so when I started this venture in the political realm, it was just to get involved. And as anything that I'm involved in, I want to be better, I want to improve, and I'm never satisfied with where I'm at. And that's the same way I've been with the city of Tulare. Measure I was a huge improvement. The first Measure I, and it was our tax that we did to support our police officers in streets. But when we did that, we made a promise to the community that there would be an oversight committee. And when I was off council from 2008 to 2012, that went away. I want to bring that back as a promise kept to this community. Another thing, when we talk about economic growth, comparing our 9% to, if I say, is 8%, aren't accurate numbers. They're twice our size, and they had a huge head start. We are behind the curve when it comes to comparing us to other cities. My goal is to catch us up, and with your help, I'll be there to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And closing statement, Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I've got 3 points I'd like to make. What I'd first like to bring to the City Council is the spirit of unity and civil constructive debate. I can argue with somebody in the dais and still leave caring and respecting about them as an individual. I've demonstrated that on your Board of Public Utilities on numerous occasions. We're not always going to agree, but we can still care for one another. I want to convey a message of reconciliation and optimism to our entire community. It was the racetrack in 2010, now it's the hospital, and we're never going to make the progress we want to in economic development or with the hospital unless we're moving forward together. Once again, we're not always going to agree, and that's okay, but we need to do a focus together. The last is to share a vision of opportunity with those outside our community who wish to invest or relocate here. You work with businesses one-on-one every day like I do, and you know that if you talk to somebody, you can work it out and bring the deal together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If we can have our candidates for District 1 come forward, please. Well, good evening. Sorry, I should get some water. Well, good evening to both of you. We appreciate your service to our community and for running for public office. It's great to have you both here tonight. As you've seen the form and the schedule tonight, I'm kind of sitting out there. I hope you're both feeling well and ready. It's nerve-wracking. I can smile because I'm on this side. I'm not on that side. As we've started off, and perhaps Councilman Goen, if you started also with your 1-minute opening statement.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Shay Goen, and I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself and why I'm running to stay on City Council. I'm a 4th-generation Tularian. I'm raising my family here, building a business here. Tulare is my community. It is my home. I've sat on many different boards and committees in Tulare, and I'm a member of Noon Kiwanis. I have literally volunteered thousands of hours in this community. I want to see Tulare keep its great spirit and also grow to be a town where our children will choose to stay and raise their families. I want to continue as District 1's current council member. I would be honored to continue serving our community and working with other council members and city staff to keep Tulare going and growing. So during my term on council, I've participated in many training opportunities and conferences to gain knowledge and ideas to bring back to Tulare. I've attended 100% of all my council meetings, workshops, and special sessions, having my research done and my questions answered so that I am prepared and ready to represent Tulare in District 1. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to learn about your choices, and I hope you'll decide that I'm the right choice for District 1.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Segal, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be here today to talk a little bit about myself and my vision and why I'm running for the City Council in District 1. My name is Jose Segala, and over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to knock on probably close to 1,000 doors in the neighborhood community, talk to hundreds of people about what their vision is for this district and their hopes and dreams for their families and their children. And I've had the opportunity to learn a lot about the need that they feel that they deserve a community that has its fair share of resources. They deserve better street lighting, better protected neighborhoods, better amenities. We have no limited restaurants and shops and abilities to go out and do things in our community. And you know, I have the background. I've been a resident here for a number of years. My family's been in Tulare since the early 90s. Very familiar with the community, very familiar with its needs, and I feel strongly that my background, which I'll share as we move along tonight, gives me that opportunity to begin and serve the residents of District 1 very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segal. As we go with question 1, which is the question that has been asked to other candidates tonight, it says the Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And we'll start with you, Mr. Segal.
Well, part of my vision, I've had the opportunity to knock on and speak with a number of business leaders in the district, and I'm very proud. There's only about 50 to 60 businesses in District 1, and I'm very proud to have the endorsement of a number of them. Well, I've made the time to go talk to them about their needs, about what they feel is important for them to grow, to expand. And one of the things that I've come to learn is that, you know, the West Side gets a bad rap. You know, unfortunately, there's been 11 people been shot or killed over the last couple of years. There's a lot of break-ins. There's a lot of blight that occurs in the community. So a lot of the business members feel that we need to work on those bread and butter issues to make sure that our communities are safe, that we can be proud of where we live. But it takes leadership, and they notice that in order for us to expand their business, to bring in new businesses, investors want to feel safe. They want to make sure that their employees are safe when they work there at night, whether it's a new restaurant or a new shop. And we really need to work together. I hope that if I'm fortunate to be the council member, to work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce to make that happen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Segala. Ms. Scully? Sure. Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in the efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place?
When I first started on city council 4 years ago, economic development was one of my big focuses. And when I first met with the city manager, he asked me, well, what is your definition of economic development? I'm a girl that grew up here in Tulare, and my definition of economic development is just like probably everybody else in this room. Why don't we have an In-N-Out? So I said, I want to know how we can bring more retail here. I don't want to have to drive to Visalia or to Hanford or to Porterville to, you know, buy a suit or get some chicken wings. And so I worked on that a lot with him, and we found a company called Retail Strategies that would market our town of Tulare, to go and show those people that we are a special community, that we are a place that you want to be. Unfortunately, that contract was just canceled, but hopefully we'll be able to move forward in a different direction and maybe get an economic development personnel in our staff, because we do not have one. So economic development is definitely important to me, and I do see also partnering with other people in the community like the chamber and setting up networks to where we can work together.
All right. Thank you to both of you. I think keeping on the line of economic development, received a question here, this race, and I like this question. As we've had the focus, what I'm saying is not on the card, so bear with me. But the focus, I think, changes from economic development and expansion, but about retention. What do you see are the issues of keeping business retention in your district? I need to clarify. I took this to mean is, instead of expansion, what do you see as issues to keep businesses here that are already here? You're waiting for me, and I apologize. Shay, how about you, Stokes?
Actually, we've had some new businesses come over into District 1. We've had a Family Dollar and a Dollar General. I know those aren't real sexy businesses, but hey, I like to stop there on my way home and get a few groceries. So retention over in District 1, I don't see as an issue. We've had businesses over there that are family owned and run for years and years. And I don't see as much empty spaces over in that area as I do in some areas over on the east side of the tracks. So as far as business retention in our district, I mean, it would be nice if the west side could look like the east side, but the west side was built quite a long time ago, and it's never going to look like the east side. It is what it is, and I love it for what it is, and I think it's quaint, and I think it's a lovely place to be, and that's why I chose to raise my family there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Segala?
Well, Patrick, I think I would see that question more of like, what can we do to help them expand? I mean, I think the retention, as was mentioned, they're there, but a lot of these businesses need support to be able to grow, to be able to take advantage of a lot of the things that I don't see them having right now, which is a lot of technical support, how to put together business plans, how to go out and find financing to better up their place. You know, one of the commitments that I made to the various business folks is that if I were on the council, I would work hard to sponsor small business development workshops, bring in both state, federal opportunities that they might be out there. I know the chamber works very hard to represent a lot of businesses across the city, but I think that if we were to work together and put a little more emphasis on the west side, I think people would be very happy, especially a lot of the business owners who want to be able to work together to hire more people and to expand their business.
All right, thank you. I think one of them is a little bit broad, jumping to a citywide, and I think it's fair to ask the same question to this group of sitting on the council about water. And I think with being on the council, kind of jumping back to a question that was asked in the other district, where do you see our water system in 10 years, and how do you see the city of Tulare getting there? And we'll start with you, Mr. Segala.
Well, I heard this question earlier in the response, and obviously I agree with the fact that we are in a drought. We're going to be entering our 6th year, and nobody can predict that. We all work, we all pray that we have rain, and that pretty much dictates a lot of what can be done. But there are certain things that we can do to build infrastructure, that we can do to plan ahead. And I think part of that is the new agencies, the groundwater sustainable agencies, and the coming together of different communities to try to address this as a whole. Water's been a big issue for many, many decades in terms of legal rights, in terms of ground, who's in charge of this water, that water. But at the end of the day, we need it to grow. We need to be able to save water by creating storage opportunities. We also need to work closely with our folks up in Sacramento and the county to make sure that we get our fair share and we have a voice in that process. I know we had assembly candidates here earlier today, and I hope that they continue to work with local governments, such as the city of Tulare, to try to address our water needs over the next 10 years.
Thank you. Let's go.
So our water infrastructure system in the next 10 years, I hope will be up to capacity and able to continue with the growth that we want to see in Tulare. The city staff and the BPU have taken a lot of time and effort into their studies and into figuring out a plan. They have a very well thought out plan that's for, predicting for the future and predicting growth instead of just getting by as it has been in the past. They have a plan for upgrading and redoing a lot of the older infrastructure on the west side of town that is collapsing and falling apart. Every time we tour open a new street, we find a new problem with the water system and with the sewer system. And so I'm glad to see that the city has been proactive in finally coming up with a plan and moving forward in that. And I think that we should have a really good water system within 10 years.
All right. Thank you. I have a couple of questions here. I'm watching time, but I think one to kind of go back as well, which is a question over our whole community, is for a question that's presented to the City Council, and we asked this before as well, but I think it gets the conversation of our whole community. Do you have a vision for downtown? And if so, are there any tools that have not been used that you would implement? Yes, please.
I've had many visions for downtown, a lot of them. I've sat on many committees that have talked about the issues downtown. We've talked about many different ideas, ways to fix it. We tried P-bid, we had a small P-bid that did make it. Unfortunately, I think the issues of downtown are far beyond city council. It's gonna take a large community effort. It's gonna take some pressure on some of the property owners that don't necessarily want to make the investment into the buildings. It's going to be thinking way outside of the box. Our downtown, unfortunately, I don't think will ever be like Visalia's downtown, but maybe we can make it something better. All I can say is I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep listening to the ideas. I'll sit on any new committee that gets formed to work on the downtown, because I would love to see us have a vital downtown in Tulare.
Mr. Segala?
I agree. We need to work together, business owners, council, community folks, to try to create a vibrant downtown. I came out of the Valley Voice the other day talking a little bit about thinking outside the box, maybe some crazy ideas, wild ideas of trying to bring new types of industries to downtown. I talked a little bit about high tech. I talked about Hollywood, bringing a little bit of Hollywood to Tulare in terms of the post and pre-production of movies that are done today. I have twin 16-year-old daughters that if I call them right now and ask them to make a movie, they could probably make it on their iPad. The technology has moved so much forward where we could make those types of movies in the downtown spaces. But we also have to address some of the issues that were brought up earlier about the homelessness, about the blight, about people keeping up their businesses. Because in order for us to have a vibrant community, it all has to work together. I've gone out there to do some shopping and things like that, and it's pretty much dead. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it all closes down. So we need to figure out ways that we can make it more vibrant. I know the city of Visalia has done some ideas, but I think we can work together to come back and bring back downtown Tulare.
All right, thank you. Thank you for both. With that, and with time, I think we're going to go to closing statement. And you have seen in prior agenda items for other candidates tonight, you have a 1-minute closing, and why don't we start with you, Mr. Segala?
Well, I decided to run for the city council race to try to bring some active, engaged, and responsive leadership to the district, to work hard to represent the community. I've been very fortunate to have listened to a lot of the concerns that our constituents have, and to really put together an idea that's going to move us forward. You know, the campaign theme that I have is we deserve better. You know, we deserve opportunities to have our families be safe. We deserve to have, you know, it's the year 2016 and we still have dirt alleys and dirt sidewalks and a lot of places with no streetlights. That should be something that we work towards to try to find a balance. I call it a balance of inequality with other parts of town. But it takes someone that has the experience. You know, I spent 20 years working in the California State Legislature, local government, where I worked on budgets, on planning, on writing ordinances, on writing state legislation. So I have the experience to hit the ground running from day one to represent that district, to make sure that we deserve, get our fair share of resources, because I think everyone has agreed in that district that we deserve better. And I hope there are people here from District 1 tonight to be able to see the difference in the candidates. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And closing statement, Ms. Goen?
I've heard it say that the West Side deserves better and that they don't get their fair share, but during my 4 years on council, the streets and sidewalk budget, 2 districts, District 1 and District 2, which are on the west side, got 46% of the budget for streets and sidewalks versus the other 3 districts. So we are getting our fair share, we're getting more than our fair share, and so I think the city's doing a great job at trying to distribute their funds evenly and fairly, and nobody's getting the short end of the stick. I've really been honored and enjoyed serving on city council for these last 4 years. I've learned a lot. It's definitely a learning curve. I'd love to tell you that you can just get on council and wave your wand and magically fix everything, but unfortunately it's government and it takes time and there's a lot of red tape and you have to work with 4 other people that have to agree with you on what you want to do. So I look forward to continuing in that role and moving forward and getting things accomplished for all of Tulare as well as my district.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we take a quick 10-minute break as we switch to the next. Is that Kit McMahon? We'll take a 10-minute break, folks. Mr. Smith come to the front, please? All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you could return to your seats, please. Now, to let you know, I'm a Rotarian, so if you don't sit down in the next minute, we're going to fine you, and we'll have the Chamber of Commerce send you an invoice. That goes for you too, Charlie. So, ladies and gentlemen in the back, if we could please have you take your seats so we can get started again. Can you hear me in the back? Looking for Dr. Leslie, can you hear me in the back? Joseph, can you hear me? I take that as a no. Test.
From your diaphragm.
Test, how's this? Wow. You can hear me now? All right. That must be working. Wow. Well, good evening to the three of you. Thank you for being here tonight and giving a presentation to the citizens of Tulare. And we also applaud you for running for high school board, being involved in the process and taking a step forward to serve your community. It is appreciated. I'm giving that as a test. Can you still hear me, Joseph? All right. So with that, as we have our opening for our Tulare Joint Union High School District, how about we have our opening statements from Mr. Frank Fernandez.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody here tonight and thank the Chamber for this opportunity to get our messages out. And without further ado, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a second generation Fernandez here in Tulare. So I was born and raised here, and actually third generation, I take that back. So grandfather came here way back in the 30s, or probably 20s, and so third generation dairy farmer as well. So born and raised here in Tulare, currently am working in Pixley, my family dairy operations out in Pixley, and I have 3 kids, Haley, Maddie, and Frankie, and I'm married to my lovely wife Diane, which they were all here earlier, but they all left because they need to eat and go to bed. So I do have a vested interest in running for school board. I have 2 kids in high school. I have 1 still in grammar school at Sundale, and been serving on the board for 2 terms, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve you further.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to introduce myself to your community. My name is Dr. Sarah Ramirez. I am the Tulare County native. I grew up in Pixley. It is actually where I still live. It is where I grew up and where I still live. My background is in public health and also in higher education. I have taught as an instructor, adjunct faculty, and lecturer at the university level have seen the impact of our educational system on young people going off to college. I'm also married to a teacher. He is also a Tulare County native and a Pixley native as well. And we work a lot in our community. And one of the things that I really do in my community too is promote service with compassion. I do that through my job, I do that through my research, and I do that with the engagement of young people. So thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Luke Smith, and I'm honored to be here tonight as a candidate for the Tulare Joint Union High School District Governing Board. I've worked in the field of school facilities management for over 17 years. My wife is an elementary school teacher, and we have 2 school-aged children. Education is just not our career choice, it is our passion. I believe strong schools are the foundation for successful communities. I know that school leadership should reflect the values of the local community. I understand everyone pursues different educational goals, but deserves the same educational opportunities. I am not an aspiring politician. I am a husband, a father, and a community member who has a simple motivation for becoming a school board member. My children's future, our future, and the success of our community is dependent upon the strength of our schools. Experience matters, and I have the experience necessary to make decisions that shape our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you to all 3 of you. The same question that we have is question number 1, which is presented to all candidates tonight. The Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official with the Tulare Joint Union High School District and helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And we'll start with you, Mr. Smith.
As a school board member, I think there are several ways that we can promote economic prosperity in this community. First and foremost, we have to graduate highly educated students. Irregardless of whether they enter the workforce directly or go off to college, and hopefully we can entice them to return to their home and come back to this community so that they can be productive members of society and contribute to our hometown. Second of all, the high school district routinely hosts large events that attract visitors from outside of our community, and while those visitors are here, they buy gas, they go out to eat, and they also take advantage of the other businesses in town. And I think we need to continue with that, but also expand by supporting and encouraging community use of our facilities. The more people that come to town, the better it is for everybody. Last but not least, I think this is not as common, but school district decisions on new school locations, attendance boundaries, can have a significant impact on residential development. We need to cooperate with the City of Tulare and the Tulare City School District to foster growth.
So I think my main focus is really on instructional support and programs to support healthy kids and healthy schools. And what do I mean by that? I'm really looking at opportunities for applied educational experiences, for service learning, so that when students do graduate, they are able to enter the workforce and to have some experiences that allow them to be better prepared for the workforce or for education, for further education if they're moving on. I think that that's something that's really important and that we need to develop a little bit further. I think our schools are doing a great job at it. But I would like to see that more technology also come into the room. I know this district has committed a large sum of money into technology. I want to make sure that the technology is being used to foster educational improvement, instructional support, and also broaden the horizons for the young people as well. So this is something that I think is also very important to think about the technology.
Well, first off, as a current board member sitting on this board, when I came into this district, our graduation rate was somewhere hovering around 72.4%. Since I've been on the board, our graduation rate has improved by 13.2%. So I think that adds a huge economic boom to our community. And I think it's so important. We actually outrank our county and the state average. So we have seen an improvement. I want to also give credit to my existing board, because without cooperation of 5 members and on this governance team, these things don't happen if we don't work together. So in addition to that, it's a passion of mine to really push our CTE programs, which are career technical education, because not every kid that goes to our schools is going to end up in college. We like to see them go to college, but we also need skilled workforce here in Tulare. As a business owner here in Tulare, it's so important. We're missing on the skills, so I'm a big proponent of pushing CTE programs in our school district, which helps our local economy.
I think all three of you touched a little bit on this next question, and this kind of lets you maybe get into the gravel and some of the details. But we heard about CTE, the skilled workforce, graduation, relating to job readiness. So I think with some of those specifics items, what do you want to see the district do regarding job readiness after graduation? And we'll start with you.
Again, I just touched on CTE, and some of our ag programs, one of those great programs. Also our Link Learning Academies that we're starting to build in our district. We're still in the infancy stages on that. Engineering pathway, medical careers pathway, you name it, we've been pushing these things in our district. And I think it's so important because not only graduation, but graduating with a skill set is a life-changing decision, I think, and it's so important to our community. I live here. I want to see our community improve, and if we don't, we're kind of on the last line of kind of, I guess, defense to really churn out a product to our community that we all live in. So it's important to me, and I really push all of our CTE programs and also pushing graduation.
I find this to be a fascinating question, mostly because a lot of people will focus on job readiness after graduation and think about the various technical skills, the educational skills. I think I like to think about it also as the human, the soft skills that are needed for job readiness. I'm also an employer here through a nonprofit organization, and I've also been in our public health department and have worked with the public health department. And one of the things that I've seen mostly is that some of our young people are not ready in terms of resilience, in terms of leadership skills, in terms of being able to learn and adapt. They take failure in a very challenging way and don't see it as an opportunity to grow and to learn. And so I'd like to think that we can cultivate a little bit more of the human side within education, so that our students, when they do graduate, are able to show up on time, be respectful, follow rules and instructions, and just do the basic things an employer needs.
I also support the career technical education and link learning programs that the high school has developed and shown great success with. I think we need to expand upon those programs, cooperate with local business and industry to develop our educational programs so they prepare our students to not only enter the workforce, but enter the local workforce. Our programs should be developing the next generation of local business leaders.
Thank you to all three of you. With this, I like this, is being up here on the stage, you only have 1 minute, and it's very tough to address these questions. But with that is, in 1 minute, what do you see as the one key issue of why you're running for the high school board? If in that time frame, one item that would inform the constituents of what is the critical need or item that you see of why you're running for the high school board? And we'll start with you, Sarah.
I'm a strong believer in grassroots engagement and actually representing the people that we serve. I grew up in Pixley. I live there today. I stay very connected to my community. I have the pulse on the community. I also know that the students from the Pixley-Tipton area make up about 40% of the students attending Mission Oak High School. I would like to see more engagement from our board members, from our school board members in those communities, talking with the people, talking with the students. I work with the students all the time and on a volunteer basis. I adore them. I want to see them succeed. I keep in touch with them even after they go on to college. So I would say for me, it's grassroots engagement and representation. We need to see our board actually reflect the representation of our students through geography, through population, whatever that is, representation and engagement. Thank you.
For me, the biggest issue that brought me to the decision to run for the school board was community growth and the school district's implementation of the facilities master plan. For many years, education suffered through some years of poor funding. The Great Recession really didn't do education any favors. Our school district was wise and made it through in a way that we can all be proud of. But as the money starts to flow back to the schools, and especially with Proposition 51 on the ballot, I think growth is something that you either lead or you fall behind. And at this point, you know, we're at that turning point where the money is starting to flow again, our community is starting to thrive again, and I think it's important that we follow the plan the board adopted several years ago and we stay on track, because you're either keeping up or you're falling behind. And I want to be a part of us keeping up. I want to see the school district be a contributor to the economic success of this community.
Well, I think the first and main reason why I ran for school board is family. Like I said, my kids, it's my passion to see that their educational experience is something that they'll remember, and they give them the best foot forward. Also, just getting involved with community. I mean, if you're going to just sit here and be in the community but not get involved, then you know, I don't think, you know, there's more to being part of the community. It's getting involved, and I think being on the school board is one of those ways. It's probably the least political of all the political agencies here in Tulare. So proud to say we're a very transparent board, and that we look forward to the community's input and how the direction of this board, how this district runs. So that's it in a nutshell.
I think perhaps, as though maybe one of the least political, but one of the ones of most that we take to our heart. And of course, it means the most to many of our communities, our families, and others. With that, and moving on, is we're going to go to the closing statement. And in your final closing statement, you will have 1 minute, and we'll start with you, Mr. Smith.
Well, first I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I applaud your commitment to participating in the election process. I want to assure you that I am equally committed and qualified to serve this community. For 8 great years, I served as Director of Facilities for the Tulare High School District, and during that time, I had the privilege of overseeing the construction of Mission Oak High School. I'm very proud to have been a part of that project. In 2014, I started a consulting business that serves school districts in the greater Tulare area, and I've had the privilege of working with the Pixley School District, the Tipton School District, and the Early Mart School District. I am ready to serve this community in a new leadership role. I have the background, knowledge, and experience to make decisions that shape our children's future. On November 8th, please vote. But more importantly, please vote for Luke Smith for the Tulare High School Board.
So thank you again for being here tonight and listening to all of us and giving us an opportunity to share with you. I would say that for me, my big focus is really on healthy kids in healthy schools. For many years, for the last several years, I've been working with school nurses, with food service directors, with the public health department, And a lot of my focus has always been on healthy schools, Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, how do we get resources into our schools, and even working and listening to teachers and some of the challenges that they are having. Again, here is where engagement of our community is so important. How do we get our parents involved and engaged in supporting our teachers and educators so that they don't feel so alone sometimes? I think that these are some of the things that we really need to see. And if I have the opportunity to do so, I will do my best to represent this community, represent the community that I come from in this position. Thank you.
I want to thank the Chamber again for hosting this event, and just to go over a few things that's been part of my tenure here, I guess, as you would say, on the school board. One of the things we're proud of as a governance team is we've maintained we've been fiscally conservative and sound financial shape, so we can do those things that many of the people up here were talking about, for facilities and different things, and trying to do a lot of that without passing a bond. So we're very mindful of the students' needs by hiring more counselors. We've hired 3 new psychologists in the past few years. We've added linked learning academies. We've also stayed competitive on our salaries. We rank near the top in the county in salaries and benefits, which helps us attract some of the most highly qualified teachers in the area. So an award-winning ag program. I mean, the list goes on and on. We are a great district. We'll continue to be a great district. And I look forward to having the opportunity to serve you another 4 years. With that, I thank you. Thank the Chamber.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this will be, the first one, sorry for not announcing this, District 2, our Hospital Board District 2, which is Laura Gadke and Michael Jamaica. Is Mr. Jamaica here this evening? Yes, good evening to the both of you. As with the last round, we're going to just be using this mic, so we'll have to pass the mic around to all 3 of us. So are we still good in the back? Okay, all right. Well, again, good evening, and in following the schedule as we've done in the previous races, we thank you for being here and appreciate your dedication to the community and running for office. And we're going to start with our opening statements, and Laura Gadke, you'll have 1 minute to do your opening statement.
Hey, this is a thriller from Manila. Please think, can you hear me? Please think back to 2013. Years of chaos had led to the brink of financial ruin. Doctors running the MEC were mad that Sean Belucci was brought back and they weren't sending patients to the hospital. Our attorneys advised we bring in a bankruptcy specialist. Sherry Bell gave the financials to City Manager Don Darman, and Lynn Dredge arranged a meeting with prominent businessmen. Mr. Darman said, "You're insolvent, you need to declare bankruptcy." Instead, we brought in HCCA. We have gone from 23 days cash on hand, which was a violation of our revenue bond requirement, to 100 days cash on hand. We went from losing millions every month to 7.5 million profit last year. If elected, I will work to finish the tower in the next 2 years before our permit expires. And let's work together and give our community an integrated healthcare system. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Michael Jamaica, and I'm also running as a candidate for the Hospital Board District 2. And my purpose for running is just I'm a concerned citizen in this community, and the hospital board seems to have some frustration in this community with the hospital district and has experienced in the past 5 to 10 years. We have entrusted our elected board with everyday running of our district hospital, which has been a disappointment with the lack of transparency and accountability that has been shown. Contracts they have signed with HCCA is a one-sided contract, giving the HCCA authority and financial gain, leaving investments in this community and the hospital district made in perilous situations, and we must get our hospital back.
Okay. Our first question, which will be the same to Hospital Board District 2 as it's been to other races, is as noted earlier, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And Mr. Jamaica, we'll start with you.
Okay, I see the issues of how or what role a good hospital will play in this economic development as an intangible part of its peril to the citizens and the businesses looking to set up in our community. I feel very good, strong of the good systems, both in primary, secondary stages of our schools, and how we provide a college environment with the COS campus. Our infrastructure seems to be coming along fine with the cities and upgrades and the water issues being addressed, but our biggest issue right now is our hospital. Currently, we do not have that. We have the hospital that has a one-star rating with occupancy of less than 50%. We need to have good quality healthcare professionals that have been long-term dedicated employees that have been laid off. That is not the way to instill confidence in our industries that would like to set up businesses in our community, and currently not a way to entice anyone looking to move into the area.
Okay. I talked about bankruptcy. Think of what would happen if our hospital bankrupted to our economic development. I live 2 blocks from the hospital. My house wouldn't be worth what it is today. We have more employees, even with the recent layoffs, than we did when I got on the board in 2013. We can't improve that hospital until we have that tower completed. We're going to close if we don't complete it by 2030 because of earthquake standards, but we've got to have that right away. We've got to bring in more doctors, and then when we have a vibrant hospital, economic development will flow.
Well, thank you. I want to let the audience know that we received a lot of questions, so we do have those. Unfortunately, tonight I don't have time to answer every question with that, but we do thank you. The questions I've received range on a diversity of topics, and I know we have a lot of issues that we can discuss regarding our hospital. With that, and with this one, is it deals with the service agreement between the Tulare Healthcare District and HCCA. And for both of you, in your opinion, being on the in your position of running for hospital board, is the service agreement between Tulare Local Healthcare District and HCCA in the best interest of the district? And if you please would explain your opinions. And we'll start with you, Laura.
Okay, my goal has always been the best health care for our community. I don't care as a taxpayer whether the hospital is profitable or not. I mean, I didn't even know it wasn't profitable for years. I did know about the quality of care. And many people are upset because they feel that somehow their money has gone someplace. Our goal is to have a good hospital with good equipment, good doctors, and that's what I'm working for, and that contract does not stop that. It helps it. It helps us get improved.
Well, I think our contract with HCCA, I mean, we pay this HCCA CEO $250,000 a month. And that adds up to, what, close to $3 million a year. And our last CEO that we had only made $350,000 a year. That's a big boost in wages that could stay here and go towards our hospital. We could save at least $3 million a year with reducing this contract, and our CFO making $39,000 a month. I mean, that's big savings that could go a long ways, and retaining our employees at the hospital, and hopefully doing some sort of construction work to our tower that's still sitting there.
Thank you. That's a topic that I've received as well, and we're all aware of, is the tower completion. And this is for both of you. As we've talked about tower completion, in the time frame of the minute best as possible, can you touch on the key components of what is your direct plan for the tower completion? And we'll start with you, Mr. Jamaica.
Well, I think first we would have to get the trust of the people back and see where we can go with it, and work on trying to pass another bond after we can eliminate, hopefully restructure this contract with HCCA. I think that by doing that, I think we'll be able to move forward in this, and hopefully we could do that by coming back with the public and asking for a new bond as we move forward.
There was a lot of confusion about the old bond, and I wanted to have a forensic accounting done. It was going to cost us $500,000 on money that's long gone. My goal is health care for the community, not raking over past mistakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten our belt still further, and I think we're very close to being in a financial position where we qualify for a federal loan that we didn't qualify for even a year ago. And so we want to finish that tower and not go back to the people, because the community has spoken. They've paid $85 million. It's been 10 years, and they're not going to pass another bond.
Thank you. And another topic that I have in the questions here is regarding transparency. And this question, I'm trying to make it a general question to the importance here, is your thoughts on transparency. Do you, in each of your opinions, do you feel that the hospital has been as transparent as it could be, or as it should be? Is it following what you feel is appropriate transparency?
I think so. You know, There's transparency, and then there's deliberately trying to cause a problem. We have had hundreds of requests for freedom of information, and it's not current. Some of it's current, some of it's from 2007, some of it's from 2005. We have to go back through boxes to find the information that they want. It's been a financial burden. It's been a burden on our personnel. When we did that contract, we read it, a summary of it to the audience. We put it online. Nobody was interested. The hospital was in trouble. Nobody wanted to help. So I think we are transparent. If you want current financials or something that we can get right away, you get it right away. But if you want something from 2006 or 7, there's going to be a wait and there's going to be a cost.
I think the transparency on this is that if people request for documents, I think they should be presentable, even though we do have to look for them, but they shouldn't have to wait months or days to get the information that they're asking. And I think in this situation here with HCCA is that every time somebody requested something, it had to go through Mr. Green, their attorney, and he would decide whether, yes, we can give it to them or no, we can't. So I think there is a lot of transparency there that needs to be held accountable for on that.
Of the issues that we've touched on and the dynamics of where our hospital is at, to both Lord Gadke and Michael Jamaica, where do you see our hospital a year from now?
If we go back to the past, I think our hospital is still in danger of closing. I don't think that tower is going to be completed. If they try to make HCCA leave after the wonderful job they've done turning us around financially, there's going to be consequences. One of the consequences is if our financial position is poor, we risk having the bond called, the revenue bond. I think there's going to be chaos. We don't want to go back to the past where we didn't make profits and there was chaos and fighting on the board. Just think back to what it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We don't want to go back to that. And so that's one of the reasons they talked me into running, because I want us to have a hospital. I've worked for it for years, and I don't want it to close.
Well, I think we all would like to have this hospital still here, but there has to be a lot of changes be made in order for us to move forward. I mean, this contract, I mean, I don't understand how board members could not have read this and not understood it. I mean, it's beyond me. I mean, I think common sense would let us all know that this isn't the right contract. But I think we could all join together and work strong and make sure that we do keep our hospital open with other options that we have to look at. Thank you.
So we've asked 5 questions, and with time is we're going to go to the closing statements. And with that is you'll have 1 minute for your closing statement, and we'll start with you, Mr. Jamaica.
I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand up here and speak to everybody. I'm not a politician. I'm just a regular citizen who is concerned over what has taken place here at our hospital. I think we need to all work strong together and make sure that we keep it going. If elected, I will do whatever possibly we could do as a board to make sure that we can survive this. But I know there's going to be other ways and avenues that we will be able to find resources to continue this. Thank you.
My opponents want to take back their hospital. I know what they're taking it back to. In November of 2008, they borrowed $18 million in revenue bonds. There were provisions in that bond that said they had to have so many days cash on hand. It was a percentage, about 50 days cash on hand. When HCCA came on, we had 25 days cash on hand, and the bond holders were calling the bond. We were days from having our doors locked. HCCA begged the bondholders to give them a chance. There are provisions, and they're in that contract, that allowed us to keep our doors open. Every day that when the cash comes in, it's swept and it's put in a master account under HCCA's control. And that allowed us to stay open because the bondholders demanded that. They weren't going to lose their money. And so with chaos, I worry about what's going to happen. I know I sound like an oracle.
Well, thank you to both of you. Appreciate it. If we could have the candidates for District 4, Councilor, come forward, please. Well, good evening to both of you, and thank you for being here. And yes, this is our last segment tonight, so appreciate everybody being here. I think as we go into our last race, there's just a couple of things that I want to touch on before we end the evening. And I just want to take the moment again to thank the volunteers and thank everybody for being here. Thank you to all the candidates. Being a candidate is no easy task. We care about our community, things get emotional, we disagree on logistics, but I know that all of us care. And you wouldn't walk through that door back there if you didn't care about Tulare. And that's a fact amongst all of us. So as we leave here tonight, take the appreciation of our community, and I think take the appreciation that we're all here to make it a better place. And we have choices in doing so, and that's what the process is all about. I also want to mention that I've lost my cell phone. So if somebody sees a random cell phone hanging out in the room, would you tell it to wait in the truck for me? I'd appreciate it. I'm looking for my cell phone. But again, thank you to everybody. So as we move on, for Sherry Bell and Kevin Northcraft for District 4, as in the prior agenda process, we will give you each 1 minute for your opening statements. And Sherry Bell, we will start with you with your opening statement.
It's a long time to wait. Thank you for being here, and thank you for waiting this long to listen to Kevin and I. My name is Sherry Bell. My husband and I moved our family here in 1990. I have 6 children, 8 grandchildren, and a grand dog. Yes, I babysit him too. Almost from the very moment we moved here, I have been a volunteer and have worked hard toward making our community a better place to live. For the past 4 years, I was honored to serve as chairman of the board of the hospital board. We get absolutely nothing for the time, not even an evolutions discount. When I walked into the hospital, it was a snake pit. We were nearly bankrupt. We had a construction project that was stalled. You remember the delaminated cement? And we had a hostile medical executive committee. 1 year into my term, we hired a private management company, HCCA. Because of that decision, we completely turned the hospital around. The 10 years prior to hiring
HCCA, we had lost $5.7 million. Since hiring HCCA, we have made, our profits have been over $7 million. $6 million have gone directly into the hospital. We need to go forward, and I believe this is the route we need to go. Thank you.
I may go over too. Hey, Tulare. It's been a long time. We have 4 great people running this year for our hospital board. 2 are on the HCA team, the team that brought us the Yes on Major I fiasco. And Michael and I are on the Citizens for Hospital Accountability team. We feel that the current board has seriously abdicated its responsibility to the public. They gave up control of the elected body to a private company and now are an advisory body. To save our hospital, they gave it away. One of the things that they're doing is overpaying just 3 positions. If we paid market rate on those 3 positions, competitive rates, we would save $3 million a year. I'll jump to the next question. We finance that $3 million. We're a long way to finishing the tower. The other problems we have, I think, are quality of our health care. We're a 1-star rated hospital. That means we're in the bottom 3% of all hospitals. Our volumes are like half of what they were a year ago in some areas. The hospital, the board is unraveling. The Citizens for Hospital Accountability are growing by leaps and bounds. Help us save our public hospital.
Thank you. I know 1 minute's tough, as everybody has seen tonight. We do want to follow that. As with all the candidates that have been on stage tonight, we're going to come back to a mutual question that's been asked across the board. As noted earlier, the Tulare Chamber of Commerce exists to serve its members and citizens by advocating for and engaging in efforts to encourage economic opportunity and business prosperity. How do you see your role as an elected official in helping to expand economic development and make Tulare a better place? And we'll start with you, Mr. Northcroft.
Well, the hospital is an institution just like the city, just like our school districts, just like our religious institutions. They help create the quality and attract people to our community. Our hospital is going downhill fast. The quality is not there. People are going everywhere but to our hospital. We've got to make some changes. We've got to bring back our public hospital, bring back the quality. Our mission is not to make money. Our mission is to provide quality health care. And I think that will do more for our economic development than anything else.
As Kevin said, a hospital is critical to a community. Any business that comes into a community wants to know that there's education, there's safety, and that there's good health care. That is also our goal. This is a new age. We're about 18 months away from the full institution of Obamacare. Things are changing. The past will not work, and it was not working. Our goal is to create an integrated healthcare system, which means for Tulare, access to quality healthcare, doctors of all kinds, which will bring more jobs, more doctors, more staff, more nurses. The hospital employees make an average of $60,000 a year. We increase those employees, we improve the economic stability of our area.
All right, thank you. Touching on some of the umbrella issues, I'm going to keep the same questions from our last panel for District 2. And the second question is, in your opinion, is the service agreement between Tulare Local Healthcare District and HCCA in the best interest of the district? And please explain your opinion. And we'll start with you, Sherry.
Yes, it is. They keep talking about the hospital being taken away from the public. In the past, what did the hospital give the public? We, for the first time, are truly investing into our community. Next week, we will have implemented a complete IT system, which is 5 years overdue. The district never had the money to implement this computer system. It's necessary for healthcare today. In addition, we've added telemedicine. We'll soon have full service cardiovascular diagnosis and treatment. In addition, we have a new women's pavilion, which offers pregnancy centering, which is a whole new idea behind taking care of our expecting mothers with the hope of better outcomes. I can go on and on. We've added diabetic, we've added the National Center for Quality Assurance for Diabetes Recognition is recognizing us for adding a diabetic triation clinic, which enables us to quickly diagnose diabetics and bring them down to intervene so that they can be brought down to glucose levels below 8. And I can go on and on to the things that we have innovated and added to our hospital.
You will note you didn't talk about the quality of healthcare and the F rating and the 1-star rating that we have. Maybe we need to refocus on the mission of our hospital and not all the fringe things that make money for HCCA. This contract is perhaps the worst in the history of public hospitals. If you've read it, anybody could read it for 10 minutes and would say nobody should have ever signed this contract. It pays the CEO 5 times the market rate. This gentleman has never run a hospital, never run a public agency. In the future, it gives 95% of profits to HCCA and the right to a first refusal. Normally when you lease a property like we've leased a $100 million or so facility to HCCA, the landlord gets paid. We leased it to HCCA and paid them $3 million a year. It's just crazy.
Okay. As the topic, been a conversation about the tower. What is your specific plan for the tower completion? And we'll start with you, Mr. Northcraft.
Well, I covered that a little bit. We start with $3 million savings on the funding of 3 highly overpaid people. That would go a long way towards financing the mortgage payments on the completion of the tower. But we need to do it the right way, the Tulare way. We need to look at grants, we need to look at loans, we need to look at excess property, we need to perhaps stage the development. We may not need a bond at all, but that's our last option. And I think this community would support a bond if it was done the Tulare way with community meetings and consensus building, not the way that Measure I was mishandled.
As Laura said, we are in a position, almost in a position where financially the hospital can cover the costs of the tower. And that's where we're going. We do not have time. We do not have till 2030. Our hospital was built 65 years ago, and very little has been done in those 65 years. We have 6 emergency room beds. We are so underserved. That new tower has 24 emergency room beds. And not just beds, they have individual rooms. That is life and death. We are waiting to complete that tower, and with that will bring physicians to our community, which we are desperately in need of. We have been unable, because of a hostile MEC, to recruit doctors. We are finally in that position. The average age of our doctors is 60 years old. It is time to recruit. We need the tower first. We have a way to do it, and we have brought stability for the first time to our hospital. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing that issue. And moving forward, as you said before, another common question that I have up here is about transparency. And leave that to the question being, do you feel that the hospital board, that HCA, that you're following all the transparency and being as transparency as possible? I'll start with you, Sherry.
As Laura said, we have been inundated with public records requests, and we have filled them as quickly as we could. We are digging through boxes sometimes. Not all of our records, especially from our previous attorneys, were on medical or on computers, and so we literally have to dig through boxes to find some of these. And just the sheer number has slowed us down. It would be nice if we could afford to just hire someone to give these all this public records requests to meet them all, but at this point we have met all of them. Our attorney says that it has been volumes and pages that have been requested. And never has that taken place in the hospital in all its history. But we have met every one of them. All records have been revealed.
They did so well there that there's 2 lawsuits reflecting that the hospital is not meeting the Public Records Act. Maybe if they didn't make every request go through Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles and a $730 an hour attorney, it might not be such a hassle to get these things done. Laura described that if it's an old record, it takes longer and costs more. That's a violation of the Public Records Act. The board doesn't even know, certainly HCCA knows nothing about handling a public agency. Their attorney knows nothing about it. And these lawsuits are going to be expensive training for a $730 an hour attorney who is unqualified to advise the board.
Thank you. And as with the question that we again asked last time for District 2, and this is our final question before we go to closing, is where do you see our hospital 1 year from now? And we'll start with you, Mr. Northcraft.
Well, it may be a wish, but I think it's a realistic wish that we will have a new majority on our hospital board, and we'll be working to bring back the public in our public hospital. We will have a plan developed with the community for finishing that tower and get it underway. We will bring back the overpayments and make the hospital even more cost effective. We'll take advantage of the employees' knowledge. We'll bring back the 130 doctors and their association that fired. It's a 3rd lawsuit that the hospital board is paying for. We will bring back the public in our public hospital.
If the accountability site gets their way, it will, as Laura indicated, we have a $15 million revenue bond. If a community is crazy enough to fire the very company that has finally brought profitability to their hospital, they will call that faster than you and I can blink. That will immediately trigger bankruptcy, in addition to the cost of firing HCCA. It's interesting to me that 4 years ago when I walked into this hospital, there was no help and no one had any ideas. But now that it's profitable and doing well, all of a sudden everyone can tell us how we can run it better. We have a hospital that is running in the right direction. We realize that it has a long way to go, but it's the first thing you have to do is financially stabilize a hospital. The employees have to know when they come to work that the hospital will be open and that they will have a job. And then from there you can improve the quality and you can bring other doctors. We are on a path, we're on a positive path. If you let us continue, we will finish the path that we're on, which is a good one.
Well, thank you both for addressing our community questions. And as we come into a closing, you'll have 1 moment for a closing statement. And Sherry Bell, we'll start with you.
This is going to be tough. Okay, let's think about the past. We had OIG, the FBI in 2008 come because we had illegal contracts with doctors. Very lucrative contracts with the doctors. We were fined $2.4 million. Originally it was going to be $24 million. The hospital would have closed. In addition, we had a financial disaster. We're talking, Kevin Northcraft is talking about all the money he can save, but then you have to have people that can make the money. We have tripled the amount that HCCA is paid with profits. We had a board that was volatile. We could have brought the Jerry Springer show to our board because news media didn't have any problem being there because they knew they would have a story. No one got along, and as a result, the hospital failed. We had a construction project. We had a board that chose to build a $120 million hospital with $85 million. They then hired an architect that was not qualified. They then hired a construction company that had never built a public hospital. You wonder why we don't have a hospital with $85 million? Right there is your reason, and that is why we need change. Thanks.
I think Sherry just said that she solved the controversy about our hospital. As Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you? We're not solving anything right now. I went to the Cahuilla Delta election forum Monday night. Some of the questions at Cahuilla Delta, which is a normal hospital district, we're talking about is the residency program to bring new doctors, a high school program to enlist people in the medical field, improvements in the emergency room, affiliation with the COS nurses program and the Valley Children's Hospital. We're not talking about any of those things because we don't have a policy board. We have an advisory board. We need to get the public back involved in our hospital. We need to stop this cancer, fix it, build community consensus, and bring back the public. I invite your vote and also invite you to be part of the citizens movement. We will bring back a public hospital to Tulare.
In closing, again, thank you all for being here. Absentee ballots have went out, and we should be receiving them. If you didn't get it already, you should be getting it soon. And our election for November 8th, so we encourage everybody to vote. And once again, in closing, thank you to our candidates, and thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.